Hello everybody, Mr. Rivers here. Welcome back. We're going to get started with this warm-up that you guys should have. If you don't have it, pause the video now and get the warm-up. We're going to get started together, and then I will tell you to pause the video at times and work some things on your own. Here we go. Week 9, Class 4 warm-up. Steps for graphing lines. Number 1, rearrange the equation so that y is isolated. Well, let's look at this one down here. Notice that y is not isolated. There's a 7x on the same side as y. So I'm going to take this negative y. I'm going to add y to both sides. Plus y plus y. When I do that, I'm left with 7x equals y plus 7. Then I've got to move that 7 to the left side. So we're going to subtract 7, and we get 7x minus 7 equals y. So there you go. That's the equation we're going to use. I have isolated y. Pause the video now and do the same thing if you haven't done that already. Once we have that, I'm actually going to rearrange it so the y is on the left side. Just looks a little bit neater for some reason. So y equals 7x minus 7. Notice we have a number of x values here, and we need to find the corresponding y values. So first off, x equals 0. So if x equals 0, that's y equals, and then instead of x, we sub in a 0. We subtract from that 7. 7 times 0 is 0 minus 7. We get y equals negative 7. So when x is 0, y is negative 7. Let's go ahead and plot that order pair. 0, negative 7, that's right there on our graph. Then we'll try x equals 1. X equals 1. Again, using this equation right here, y equals 7x minus 7. That's y equals 7 times, instead of x, we're going to sub in a 1, minus 7, so we get y equals, that's 7 minus 7, we get 0. 1 comma 0. 1, when x is 1, y is 0, so right there. All right, let's try another one. How about x equals 2 right there? X equals 2. Again, y equals 7 times, instead of x, we sub in a 2, minus 7. 7 times 2 is 14. 14 minus 7 is 7. So when x is 2, y is 7. Let's plot that. 2 is the x, 7 is the y. Okay, what about when x equals 3? Again, we take the x value, which is 3, we sub it in. Y equals 7 times, instead of x, we sub in 3 minus 7. 7 times 3 is 21. 21 minus 7 is 14. So 3 and 14, let's plot that. X is 3, y is 14, right there. And then finally 4. All right, let's do this without subbing in with writing, but 7 times 4 is 28. 28 minus 7 is 21. You probably could tell, right? Negative 7, 0, 7, 14, 21. This is a linear relationship, and linear relationships, number one, they form a line when you connect the dots. Make sure you put arrows on the end, but they have a constant rate of change. So for every unit of increase we have in x, the y is going to increase by 7. And same thing for decreases. If we decrease by 1 with the x value, the y value is going to decrease by 7 as well. So first, I want you to pause the video here and try to isolate the y. Isolate the y here. Go ahead and pause the video now. All right. So hopefully you divided both sides by 4. The inverse of multiplication is division. Now, something that you need to know here is if we're dividing by 4 on the left side, both of these terms have to divide by 4. Well, what's 2 over 4? 2 over 4 is 1/2. So we get 1/2 x minus 8 divided by 4 is 2. And that's equal to 4 divided by 4 is 1. So we're left with that. I'm going to rearrange this so the y is on the left side again, just like the last problem. Y equals 1/2 x minus 2. So if you think back to class yesterday, we had values for x that we chose that would turn this into an integer. So we need numbers that are multiples of 2. We already have x values here, and every x value we have here is a multiple of 2. So we're going to sub in each of these. Y equals, first x equals negative 8. Let me write that in here. All right, so please do this with me. If x equals negative 8, so y equals 1/2 multiply by, instead of x, negative 8 minus 2, y equals, well, what's a positive times a negative? It's a negative. Half of 8 is 4 minus 2, so we get y equals, what's negative 4 minus 2? Negative 6. So when x is negative 8, y is negative 6. Let's go ahead and plot that. Negative 8 for the x, we go to the left 8. Negative 6, we go down 6. So that's going to be down here. Boom, right there. Okay, so why don't you pause the video now and try those remaining 4 values for x, negative 6, negative 4, negative 2, and 0. Okay, first off, x equals negative 6, y equals 1/2 of negative 6. That's negative 3. We subtract from that 2, so we get y equals negative 5, meaning when x is negative 6, y is negative 5. Negative 6, we go left 6, we go down 5, right there. What about when x is negative 4? Half of negative 4, that's negative 2 minus 2, so we get y equals negative 4. When x is negative 4, y is also negative 4. So let's plot that to the left 4, down 4, right there. All right. What about when x equals negative 2? Half of negative 2, well, a positive times a negative is a negative. Half of 2 is 1, so negative 1 minus 2, we get y equals negative 3. So when x is negative 2, y is negative 3. Let's try the next one without writing anything. Let's see if we can do it. When x is 0, what's half of 0? It's 0 minus 2. We're left with negative 2. Now let's plot those last 2 points there. Negative 2, negative 3, and then 0, negative 2. You see how it forms a line? Let's connect the dots. Draw arrows on the end. There you go. We have graphed that line. See if you can do C all on your own. Pause the video as needed to see each step of the way. Go ahead and pause this now and give that one a shot. Okay, the first thing we need to do is we need to divide both sides by 3 to isolate y. 3 divided by 3 is 1, so we're left with 1y. 12 divided by 3 is 4. A negative divided by a positive is a negative. And then 2 over 3 is just 2/3. So notice the denominator of 3, and think back to class yesterday. We need to choose numbers that are multiples of 3. We already have values that are chosen for us, and all of them are multiples of 3. So here's what that looks like when you plug them each in. First off, x equals negative 12. So y equals 4 minus 2/3 x. X is negative 12. All right, so we have a negative times a negative, which is going to be a positive. 2/3 of 12. 2/3 of 12 is 8. So we get 4 plus 8, y equals 12. So when x is negative 12, y is positive 12. What about when x equals negative 6? When x equals negative 6. Again, you sub in negative 6 there. A negative times a negative is a positive. 2/3 of 6 is 4. So we get 4 plus 4, y equals 8. We can probably do 0 mentally, right? So when x equals 0, what's 2/3 of 0? It's 0. So we get 4 minus 0, which is just 4. When x is 0, y is 4. And then x equals 6 and x equals 12. When x equals 6, that's y equals 4 minus 2/3 of 6. A negative times a positive is a negative. 2/3 of 6 is 4. So we end up with 4 minus 4, which is 0. So when x equals 6, y is 0. And then finally here, when x is equal to 12, y equals 4 minus 2/3 multiplied by 12. A negative times a positive is a negative. 2/3 of 12 is 8, so we get 4 minus 8, which is negative 4. So when x is equal to 12, y is equal to negative 4. So let's go ahead and plot all of these. We got negative 12, positive 12, that's right here. We got negative 6, 8, that's right there. We got 0, 4. It should be a line. 6, 0, yep. 12, negative 4, yep. Connect the dots to make your line. There you go. So that's essentially what we're doing today. There's a little more to it than that, but we are taking values for x. We are subbing them in to find an order pair. Once we have all the order pairs, we plot them, we connect the dots, and we create a line. So if you would, please get your notes out that the teacher should have there, the sub should have for you. Get that out, please. First off, a solution we just found a bunch of solutions. Solutions are values of x and y that make that equation true. So that's what we just did, found a number of solutions. And then once we found a number of solutions, that's called the solution of an equation. The solution of an equation are all the ordered pairs, O-R-D-E-R-E-D, the ordered pairs that are solutions to the equation. You know, let's change that from solution to line, right? Or graph. The graph of an equation are all the ordered pairs that are solutions to the equation. And often these are lines, right? We're dealing with lines. We are graphing lines. All right, so which ordered pairs is a solution to y equals 0.5x? That's half of x. Well, x comes first, right? That's x, that's x, that's x. Half of x. Try that out. See if you know which ones are solutions to that equation. Give it a shot. Pause the video. All right, what's half of 10? Half of 10 is 5, so 10, 20 is not a solution. What's half of 8? Half of 8 is 4, so half of 8 equals 4, so that is a solution. And then what's half of 300? Half of 300 is 150, so not that one. We are multiplying by 2 there when we should be multiplying by 1/2. So that middle order pair is the only solution to that equation. How about this one? Pause the video now and give that one a shot. Sub in the x and the y to figure out which order pair is a solution to that equation. First off, I took 2, 4, and I subbed in 2 for x. You see that right there. Instead of x, 2 minus 3 times y. That's 3 times y is 4. So as 2 minus 3 times 4 is 12. That's not equal to -7. So not a solution. Let's try the next one here. 2, -1. That's 2 minus 3 times -1. That's 2. All right, negative times a negative is a positive. So we get 3. That's not equal to -7, so that's also not a solution. All right, let's keep going. Next order pair, x is 2. 2 minus 3 times y, that's 3 times 3, that's going to give us 9. So we got 2 minus 9. Is that equal to -7? Yes, it is. So that's a solution. Good. Let's try the next one. Instead of x, you sub in a -1, so that's -1 minus 3 times y, that's 3 times 2, that's -1. A negative times a positive is a negative. 3 times 2 is 6. -1 minus 6 is equal to -7. So yes, -1, 2 is a solution. There you go. All right, now let's try to graph. Here we're going to graph 3x plus 2. Y equals 3x plus 2. Now notice the denominator here of the coefficient of x is 1. So we don't have to really be overly selective about what we choose for x. Really, we have many options. I'm going to choose x equals 0. That's always easy to work with. Y equals 3 times, instead of x, you sub in a 0, plus 2. So we get y equals 2, meaning we have the order pair 0, 2. So let's graph that. 0, 2 is right here. I'll pick, I don't know, I'll pick x equals 2. I could pick anything I want to. I'll pick x equals 2. Sometimes you fall off the graph here, and that's okay. 3 times, instead of x, 2, plus 2. Again, I just took out x. I plugged in 2. 3 times 2 is 6. Plus 2, we get 8. So when x is equal to 2, y is equal to 8. Let's plot that point. 2, 8 is up here. All right, now watch what happens. If we keep going to the right, we're going to fall off the graph. Like if you picked 4 here, 3 times 4 is 12. 12 plus 2 is going to give us 14, and 14 would fall off the graph. So let's go to the left. Let's pick x equals -2 now. Let's just do it without writing it out. Let's do it mentally here. 3 times -2 is -6. So again, we're doing -2 for x. All right, so 3 times -2 is -6. -6 plus 2 is -4. So when x is -2, y is -4. There you go. Then we connect the dots. Boom. So here's the thing. You can pick any values you want to for x, but that doesn't mean you're going to stay on the graph. Sometimes you fall off the graph, so just keep that in mind. Sometimes we need to choose values that go the other direction so we don't fall off the graph. Even if those values are negative values, that's okay. Once you try this one on your own, again, the denominator of the coefficient of x is 1, so we can choose any values we want to for x. I might choose different values from you, and that is okay. So give it a shot. Choose at least 3 values for x to plot your line, and then connect the dots. Give it a shot there. Okay, so here's what I did. I chose x equals 0, x equals 2, and x equals negative 2. You probably didn't choose exactly what I did, and that's okay. When you plug in x equals 0, negative 2 times 0 is 0, plus 1, you get y equals 1. So 0, 1, let's plot that. 0, 1 is this point right there on the graph. All right, then I chose x equals 2. Negative 2 times 2, that's negative 4. Negative 4 plus 1 is negative 3. So 2, negative 3 is that point right there. And then next, I chose x equals negative 2. Negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. Positive 4 plus 1 is 5. So negative 2, 5 is that point right there. So there is your line. Now, sometimes you make a mistake. Let's say that last point, I plotted it over here by accident. You notice how this line curves now? That means you made a mistake. You got to figure out where your mistake is so that you can find the correct solution. So if you ever get a curved line like that, you know you're wrong, go back and try to find your mistake. Don't erase your work until you have found that mistake, but just know that these lines should be straight, not curved like that, unless you got like sloppy handwriting like mine. It might wiggle a little bit, but hopefully not too bad. All right, this one. Notice the denominator. The denominator here is 3. So let's think about multiples of 3. 3, 6, 9. You can even choose 0. So choose 3 values that are multiples of 3, find order pairs, and graph that line. Give it a shot. All right, so I chose x equals 0, x equals 3, and x equals negative 3. You probably didn't choose what I did, and that's okay. Y equals 2/3 of, instead of x, I plugged in a 0. So we get y equals, that's going to be 0, negative 2. So we got 0, negative 2. I'm going to plot that, 0, negative 2, that point right there. X equals 3. Y equals 2/3 of 3 minus 2. Okay, 3 over 3 is 1. They cancel out. We're left with y equals 2 minus 2, which is 0. So when x is 3, y is 0. 3, 0 is that point right there. And then finally, x is negative 3. Y equals 2/3 of negative 3 minus 2. So we know that we have a positive times a negative. That's going to be negative. 3 over 3 is 1. We're left with 2. So negative 2 minus 2, y equals negative 4. So when x is negative 3, y is negative 4. So again, negative 3, negative 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you did it right, which I did, it should create a straight line like that. Okay? Okay. I'm going to assume you know how to do this, and I'm going to get you started on it, but I'm going to assume you know how to do it, and I'm just going to graph it really quick for you to show you how it looks like. We do have to isolate y. So pause the video now, isolate y, and then unpause it and see what you got. Okay, so the first thing I did was I subtracted 3x from both sides. That left me with 4y equals negative 3x plus 12. Then I divided both sides by 4. 4 over 4 is 1. We're left with just y. Negative 3 over 4 is negative 3/4 x. 12 divided by 4 is 3. So we get that equation. Now, look at the denominator here. We got to choose numbers that are multiples of 4. Multiples of 4. So pause the video now and go ahead and choose multiples of 4, 3 of them at least, to find 3 order pairs. Graph them on the graph. And again, you probably didn't choose the same order pairs as me. That's okay. I chose x equals 0. Negative 3/4 times 0 is 0 plus 3. We get 0, 3. I plotted that point right there. I chose x equals 4 next. All right, so 4 over 4 is 1. We're left with negative 3 plus 3. That's 0. So when x is 4, y is 0. So there's the point 4, 0 right there. And then I chose x equals 8. All right, negative times a positive is a negative. 8 over 4 is 2. 2 times 3 is 6. So we get negative 6 plus 3. That's y equals negative 3. So when x is 8, y is negative 3. If I did it right, these 3 points should make a line, and they do. There you go. All right, now there's one thing I want to show you on the IXL. Okay, so you're going to work this IXL X7 and X6. So as I go in, this is going to be, let's see here, 7th grade X7 and X6. So I want to show you something here. There's something that we have not, it's not too hard, but okay, so that's, here we go. This is it. X7 is something here. This is no different. You just choose values for X, find the corresponding Y values. Okay, here, same thing here, no different. Choose values for X, corresponding Y values. Same thing there. Same thing there. On this one, you would choose values for X that are multiples of 2. Okay. And then it's not giving me the one that I want. Nope. Hang on. Nope. Nope. Hang on. Well, the IXL wouldn't give it to me, but I'll just tell you what happens here. Sometimes you'll get X equals some number, like X equals 4. So here are some order pairs that would satisfy that. 4, 2, 4, 6, 4, 8. As long as X equals 4, you're good. And when you plot those, 4, 2, 4, 6, 4, 8, what type of line do you get? And you get a vertical line. Now sometimes you get a graph like y equals some number, like y equals 7. Y equals 7. So 0, 7, y equals 7 there. 2, 7, y equals 7 there. 8, 7, y equals 7 there. So 0, 7, boom. 2, 7, boom. And then 8, 7, there you go. So what do you notice there? You get a horizontal line. So just keep that in mind. If that shows up on the IXL, it's not a big deal. Just all the Y's have to be that certain number, or all the X's have to be that certain number. All right, good luck, everybody. Have a great day. Bye.